Welcome to part 2 of Year 3's GPS for the week beginning May the 18th. We've been looking at building sentences. In the last video, we looked at carefully choosing verbs and adjectives to make negative and positive sentences. In this video, we'll be extending our sentences with the use of adverbs and adverbial phrases. Those of you who have looked at the first video will know that these videos come with a content warning. Here's a clue as to what we will be writing about and what the pictures are that we will be using to help us with our writing. Here's a reminder. Oh, scary spiders. I wonder if anybody out there is not frightened of spiders. So, to recap what we've learned already, we started with one word, spiders, and we realised that by adding an exclamation mark to it, we can change how that word sounds from spiders to spiders. In order for it to be a sentence, we need to add a verb. Every sentence needs a verb. We looked at positive sentences, spiders hop, or changing it around to say hop spiders, and that sentence is missing an exclamation mark, correct. We looked at building negative sentences in exactly the same way. Spiders scuttle or scuttle spiders. The use of that verb scuttle is a little bit scarier than the word hop. It's more negative. To those sentences, we then added an adjective. We thought very, very carefully about the different kinds of adjectives we could think of using our 5 senses of sight, touch, sound, smell and taste, although tasting spiders doesn't come highly recommended. And we added to those 5 groups how the thing that we are describing might feel and how we might describe the action. And we came up again with some positive sentences, friendly spiders hop, and some negative sentences, ravenous spiders scuttle, comma, ravenous. We investigated where we could put the adjectives and discovered that sometimes the adjective can go at the end of a sentence, but not always. So now we're going to move on to adding adverbs and adverbial phrases to our writing. An adverb gives more information about the verb. It could be a single word, or it could be a group of words. A group of words without a verb in it is called a phrase, which is why we call them adverbial phrases. It might tell us how the action is being done. It can tell us where the action is being done, or it can tell us when that action happens. So, here's the warning. Let's have a look at those spider pictures again and think about how and where and when those spiders are doing what they're doing. So, how do spiders scuttle? How many different adverbs can you think of? Remember, it could be a single word. Often those words ending in ly are adverbs, but it could also be a group of words. Here's what I've come up with, or a few suggestions. Boldly, warily, they're a bit frightened. Timidly, they're really scared. Silently. Or we could look at some groups of words without a sound. That's a little bit like saying silently, isn't it? Up and down. With stealth and silence. Lots of those s words would go really well in the sentence that we've already got. So, if we chose one of those adverbs, where in our sentence would it go? Here's the sentence that we created in our last video. ravenous spiders scuttle. Where are we going to put our adverb? Which adverb are we going to choose? Well, this is the one I chose because I like those repeated S's with stealth and silence. Where would that adverb go? It needs to stay together as a group of words, but where in the sentence will it go? Let's have a look. Remember that adverb is describing the verb, but does it need to go next to the verb? Well, no is the answer to that question. We could begin our sentence with the adverbial phrase, with stealth and silence, ravenous spiders scuttle. Notice, however, that there needs to be a comma after the adverb to keep it separate from the rest of the sentence. We could put it in the middle of the sentence. Ravenous spiders, with stealth and silence, scuttle. This time, the adverbial phrase has commas around it. It has one before it begins and one after it ends, again to keep it separate from the rest of the sentence. It's a kind of a drop-in phrase that gives us extra information about scuttle. And of course, it could go at the very end of the sentence after the verb that it's describing. Ravenous spiders scuttle with stealth and silence. This time we don't need any extra punctuation, just a capital letter and a full stop. You will have noticed in your homework sheets recently, you've been asked to use fronted adverbials. Well, one of these sentences has a fronted adverbial. It's the very first one, and it's called a fronted adverbial because it goes at the front of the sentence. It's a really clever way to begin your sentence, especially if you can remember that comma. That comma is part of that fronted adverbial. Here are some more adverbs. This time they are adverbs and not adverbial phrases because they're just one word. There's one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end. Silently, ravenous spiders scuttle. It's got a comma after it to keep it separate from the rest of the sentence. Ravenous spiders timidly scuttle. This time, the adverb in the middle of the sentence doesn't need commas around it because it's not a phrase. It's right next to the verb that it's describing. Ravenous spiders scuttle determinedly. The adverb is at the end of the sentence. Again, that first sentence that begins with the adverb has a fronted adverbial. It's not quite as clever, in my opinion, as an adverbial phrase, but it's still a very clever thing to do because it's so far away from the verb that it's describing. You have to think really, really carefully about what you're going to write before you write it. Now let's think about where those spiders do their scuttling. Here come those pictures, just so that you can have a Where do those spiders scuttle? How many different places can you think of? Your phrases might begin with any of these prepositions. A preposition is used when we're talking about where something is. How many different ones can you think of? Pause the video and have a go at writing some down. So, here's the sentence that we've got so far. With stealth and silence, ravenous spiders scuttle. Which adverbial phrase are we going to add to our sentence? What would you add? Here's the one that I'd like to add to our sentence. Between the long blades of grass. Where in the sentence can we put that adverbial phrase? Well, just like the last sentence, that adverbial phrase can go at the very beginning. Remember, you need to put a comma before the rest of the sentence carries on. Between the long blades of grass, comma. Then we have the first adverbial phrase that we came up with stealth and silence, and another comma, ravenous spiders scuttle. Between the long blades of grass, with stealth and silence, ravenous spiders scuttle. Our sentence is really beginning to take on some meaning now. And yet again, like that first sentence we looked at, our fronted adverbial is at the front of the sentence. It's really clever because you're having to think about things in a different order and write it down after you've thought about it. Let's have a look at what that sentence might look like if we put that adverbial phrase where in the middle. With stealth and silence, between the long blades of grass, ravenous spiders scuttle. Notice again that there are commas after each adverbial phrase. I wonder which sentence sounds better. Maybe you could rewind the video a little bit and have a look and compare. With stealth and silence, between the long blades of grass, ravenous spiders scuttle. What would it sound like if we put it at the end of the sentence? With stealth and silence, ravenous spiders scuttle between the long blades of grass. Notice this time we don't need a comma with that adverbial phrase because it's gone at the end of the sentence. Which of those three sentences do you prefer? Finally, let's think about when those spiders do their scuttling. Here come those pictures. Have a think about it. When? When do those spiders scuttle? Your ideas might begin with any of these prepositions. They're all prepositions of time. There are even more. These are just some of the regular ones that I've thought of. With predictable regularity. I quite like that one. I don't know if spiders do things with predictable regularity. How many places can you think of that begin with one of those prepositions? So here's the sentence that we've come up with. I've put both adverbial phrases at the end of the sentence. It doesn't really matter where you put them. This was just what I felt like doing this time round. Ravenous spiders scuttle between the long blades of grass with stealth and silence. Which adverbial phrase of time would you add to this sentence? Here's mine. Every morning at sunrise. Where are we going to put it? You should by now know that it could go in one of several places, at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. So let's try each of those and see which one sounds best. Here we go, at the beginning. Every morning at sunrise, comma, so that we can keep it separate from the rest of the sentence. Ravenous spiders scuttle da 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 da. So this is what it sounds like. Every morning at sunrise, ravenous spiders scuttle between the long blades of grass with stealth and silence. Here again, we have that fronted adverbial. Remember, it needs the comma. Here's another sentence with that adverb of time in the middle of the sentence. Ravenous spiders, comma, every morning at sunrise, comma, scuttle between the long blades of grass with stealth and silence. You could put in winter. Ravenous spiders in winter scuttle between the long blades of grass. It could be ravenous spiders on Monday scuttle between the long blades of grass. And here we go with that adverbial phrase of time a little bit further along in the sentence. Ravenous spiders scuttle between the long blades of grass every morning at sunrise with stealth and silence. Notice those commas. It helps to keep the phrases separate and it helps us to understand the sentence. And here we go with that adverbial phrase of time at the end with all the other adverbial phrases. Ravenous spiders scuttle between the long blades of grass with stealth and silence every morning at sunrise. So, which of those sentences did you prefer? Do you think they needed all the adverbial phrases? Did they sound better with 3 or just with 1 or 2? Can you now write some sentences using those as models? You can either write some more sentences about spiders or you can try and incorporate them into your writing that you're going to do this week. Remember, a basic sentence needs an adjective, a noun and a verb, but that adjective could go at the end. Choose your vocabulary really carefully. Do you want your sentence to be positive or do you want it to be negative? And then, to be really clever, can you add an adverb or an adverbial phrase? You could put it at the beginning or in the middle or at the end. But remember, if you put it at the beginning or in the middle, it will need a comma. Can you tell us how that verb was done? Can you be a bit more adventurous than just an ly word like quickly and slowly? Can you tell us where that verb happens? Can you write about when it happens? When you can include all those things in your sentences, you will be a superstar writer. We're really looking forward to seeing how you can incorporate these into your writing. Remember to email it to us. We're really excited about reading your improved writing this week. Give it a go, everybody. See you later. Bye.